watching this right now, the first thing that they're noticing is the instrument. So I'll get to that in just a moment, but first I'm hoping you can introduce yourselves individually. This is Swamp Ward Orchestra.
Yes, I'm Alison Gowan. I'm Jan LeClaire. I'm Laura Murray.
And I do want to talk to you and about you, but I want to get to the instruments first because, I mean, look at these. Gorgeous, first of all. And I know sitting in the audience listening, I heard so many people talking and so excited. Oh my God, that's a hurdy-gurdy. And I've never even seen a hurdy-gurdy before. But how did you start playing this?
I saw one at a festival years ago, a Quebecois band called Adviel Cupra, and I just loved it. I loved the sound, and so when I moved to England, I met a woman who was a player, and we played together, and I had to have one. It became total obsession. So this is my second baby, and yeah, I love her. I handpicked the color.
Your hair matches, which I love.
You know, eyes, hair, you know.
It's such a great sound, instantly recognizable, and I'm watching you play, and I mean, I'm not a musician, so any instrument looks hard to me, but you're doing so much all at once.
Well, you know, you always do. Like, there's like right hand, left hand coordination stuff with everything you do, rhythm stuff on one side, but it's a little bit like a bow, right? It's what any string player does with the bow on this hand. So, and then there's the strings. A lot of people think it's a wind instrument. Like, they'll hear it and they'll think, oh, there's, you know, it's kind of like the bagpipe or something. But it's actually a string instrument. So the strings touch the wheel, and then when the wheel turns, it bows the strings as it goes.
Rather than a bow that goes up and down and up and down, this is a perpetual Mobius strip bow that just keeps going and going and going, and then you get the drone and just big, fat, lovely sound.
The sound is fantastic, and especially at an event like this, you could just see the audience. I mean, you're the first act up, so they're setting their tarps down, and all of a sudden they're like, you know, what is that? And this one, is that an accordion?
This is an accordion. This is a piano accordion. It obviously has the traditional piano keyboard on the right hand, and then it has, this particular model has 72 keys on the left hand, and it's just a memory thing when you start learning accordion when you're a kid. I have another big boy accordion at home that is bigger, fatter. It has 120 keys in the left hand, but this is great for traveling, and I just bought it this year. I went to Italy, and there's a famous town in the east coast of Italy called Castelfidardo, and it used to have over 100 accordion factories back in the turn of the century when accordions were really popular, and now there's about a half a dozen major houses, and between that and Germany, they're the two big places to go to buy an accordion.
And what drew you to the accordion?
I am Italian in heritage as well as French Canadian, and some people down the street were teaching it from my parents' house when I was a little girl, and so they thought this was cheaper than the piano, so they bought an accordion rather than a piano. I didn't have a choice, but I loved it right away, and have just enjoyed it my whole life. I've been playing for 45 years.
Well, the passion for your instruments comes out, and I mean, I look at this one as well, which a lot more people, of course, recognize as a standard instrument, but tell us a bit about your journey with the cello.
Well, you know, I like to say my instrument isn't as flashy, but it's the most beautiful. I mean, really, you know, can you have a more beautiful instrument than this? This particular one also, I mean, I guess we've really all been lucky. We've all had recent love affairs with instruments. So this one, I had the same cello since I was 15. My grandmother had bought it for me. And then I was in a violin store in Ottawa a couple of years ago, renting a special flight case to go to the Lunenburg Festival. And I saw this across a crowded room.
Your eyes met.
Totally like that. And I had to play it, and I played it, and then after about an hour I asked the guy how much it was, and I was like, oh, okay, forget it. I went home. I couldn't sleep. It was just, you know, it had to be. I called my dad. I tried to communicate to him this thing that had happened, and he just said, well, it's kind of expensive. You know, I was hoping he would have a kind of soulmate experience. Anyway, but ultimately, after a lot of sleepless nights, I did buy it, and it's made in Ontario, actually. It looks old, but it's only 10 years old. It's made by Greg Walk, and it makes me really happy.
Well, the music that you guys play together with this, and when you talk about accordions being from the early part of the century, I hear medieval in your music. I hear Parisian street cafe circa 1920 and Quebecois in France. This is literally world music.
You've named them. Those are, I mean, Laura and I met each other, and we were both like, we had about a million things in common, but one was that we grew up singing. Neither of us are French in background, but we both grew up singing Quebecois folk songs, and this drew us together initially. The hurdy-gurdy itself, La Vieille Roue, is traditionally played in France, although also in Eastern Europe. So it's a lovely crossover then with Jan, who comes in with the klezmer tunes and that whole Eastern European sound that they really mix and meld into one another really nicely. But we're also all classical musicians.
Hence the orchestra in your
yes, and so
we all had conservatory and all of that stuff in our lives for years, going to lessons every week and all that, and it's and then we've taken the skills from that. We can write charts and do arrangements quickly and easily because we all understand music language, and it's fairly easy.
Actually, there's a really cool story about how the hurdy-gurdy and the accordion met. Apparently, during the building of the Eiffel Tower, they brought a lot of Italian metalworkers to Paris, and also a lot of rural people were coming into Paris at that time for other construction jobs, bringing with them the hurdy-gurdy. And they, eventually they started playing together. So I love that, associating it with all the building of the Eiffel Tower.
Well, I actually read that there are a lot of hurdy-gurdy street dance parties in Europe. Is that a thing, like a hurdy-gurdy dance party? Is that something you're hoping is going to catch on here?
I've gone a few times to the festivals in France, and it's fabulous. They just take over the streets and dance all night, and the dances are beautiful. It's something that I feel we lack here because we don't have a big tradition of it, that people don't know the dances that go with them, and if you do, they're just beautiful, sensual dances. And I'm a dance teacher, and so it's my one-woman mission is to get people in Canada.
And you kind of write your music as though for people to dance.
Yes, yeah, I write tunes, and we all have written tunes kind of in these traditions a little bit, definitely influenced by these traditions, but we want them a little bit quirkier, a little bit edgier. We seem to have that seems to be our thing.
And for the dance stuff, we're in the barns when we do it, and there's a festival in Quebec actually in the fall called Chandevielle, and we've been there a number of times, and when you line up a bunch of hurdy-gurdies and a bunch of accordions and none of us are plugged in, you get a lot of noise in a barn, and the people are stamping their feet with, sort of the old clog style dancing, and it's actually, they're loud enough to be heard because they are big loud instruments. And so,
although I would say the cool thing about the bourrée and the schottische that they dance is it's a little bit like square dancing, except it's a lot sexier. And they in the bourrée they don't actually touch each other, but they just sidle by each other with their arms kind of swinging like this, and it's just awesome, just really to watch.
Well,
that.
People in Winnipeg at the Folk Festival love to dance, so you've just gotten your lesson on how you should be dancing when you come see Swamp Ward Orchestra throughout the weekend here. Thank you very much, ladies.
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah.